Hey, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. We're going to make a kit today. The folks on our email list always get first dibs, so if you're not on our list, make sure you're following us there. This kit came with a sign. It came with the Pancake bundle, so which is the 14-inch frame, the patent pending 14-inch frame, the 10-inch, and the sign extender. So today we're just going to work on the frame itself, and I've already gone ahead and pre-cut the ribbon and the mesh to make things go a little bit quicker and easier. So we have, our kit came with 3 ribbons for the bow. Sometimes that varies. It could be 4 ribbons, it could be a 4.5 inch. This kit was a 2.5 inch and 2 1.5 inch. And then the kit also came with ribbon for your tails. So we have 12 spots for twist ties. So you have 12 twist ties, and your ribbon is cut 14 inches long. So the plaid and the polka dot, both 14 inches long. You want to make sure our ribbon comes kind of coiled like this. So you want to make sure before you just cut, so don't cut this, obviously it's the bow, but you want to make sure they are 14 inches before you cut. And if it's a little longer than 14 inches, that's fine, but just make sure, because sometimes we do, we wrap them in 12 inches. So make sure they're 14 inches long, and then just kind of pull your ribbon apart where the inside is, and then you can just cut. Remember, this one is for your bow, so don't cut that one. So I cut all of these 14 inches long, and then of course I dovetailed the ends. So what I did was fold the inside, cut on the fold up towards the edge, which gave me a nice pretty V shape here. Okay, and then I always put my personal favorite on the top. You can do however you want. I put my favorite on the top, and then kind of make sure that they are about even on both sides. Fold it, find the center, and then I set them aside so that they're ready when I'm ready to do the ribbon portion. So we're going to set all of our ribbon to the side for now, and we're going to start with our what are they called? These things, pipe cleaners. Also, if you're just joining me for the very first time, I forget my words a lot, so it's harder when y'all are not here live with me helping. So, you know, we're going to do the best we can. All right, the frame comes, it's kind of tacked together in a couple of spots where it is just a little couple of spots, and you just got to poke it through, push it through. It's like that on purpose so that traveling and shipping, they don't end up like this in the box and then therefore broken. So they are tacked together on purpose so that they'll travel nicely. So keep that in mind, and then just push them through, because they're tacked together. So you just push them through. I've clearly already done that one, so it looks a little different. All right, so we're going to start with our 14-inch frame. 14-inch frame, and we are going to add our pipe cleaners in all of the spots. So every place that has a notch and a hole, we're going to add our pipe cleaners there. And it doesn't matter how long the length is. It doesn't matter. We're actually going to use so little of this pipe cleaner that it doesn't matter that it's if it's not even. Okay, so I'm just going to go in every single one of these little places here where the hole matches the notch. And just if you want to get a little bit extra technical, so I'm putting this hole in and I'm tying the knot kind of on the edge where the notch is. So not in the notch, not on the inside of the frame, but real close, about right here where the notch is. And that just gives a little distance between the pieces of mesh that we're going to use, and so it does make a difference. I know it might not seem like it does, but it does. It does when you're putting the overlaps or the mesh in and it starts to overlap. It matters how much of the ribbon on the very first layer you're going to see. Okay, so I just, nice and easy, going around the whole thing right where those notches are, twist tying it nice and tight. So I am making sure that the pipe cleaner is going to be flush with that frame. Okay, so it's not floating. I'm not just kind of closing it anyway. I am making sure I'm tying it right against the wood. Okay, no problem there. Nice and easy. No, don't have to think about it. Don't have to measure. Don't have to nothing. Okay, so then your kit comes with a full roll of the 10-yard mesh. This one came with border mesh. I've already pre-cut the pieces that we need. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your rotary cutter and a self-healing mat. Okay, rotary cutter, self-healing mat, and you're just going to cut the mesh 20 inches long. Okay, 20 inches long. Again, I've already pre-cut this just to make it go a little bit quicker, and so we're going to get right to it. All right, so we started with our I guess I should put this close to me, sorry. These things out of the way. Sorry, y'all. All right, we started with our 10 inches wide. We cut it 20 inches long. So we're gonna ruffle right up the center. So we're gonna keep our fingers right in that middle and just kind of pull everything close to us. We're going to try our best to stay in the middle as best as possible, but I will say, you know, look, it kind of makes this real pretty ruffle there, and that's exactly what we want, actually. So I'm going to put it right down in there, nice and tight, crisscross, nice tight twist, twist, and then I'm going to overlap these two, and overlap here. And then I'm going to take, so it kind of comes up, I'm going to flip them under so that I can make it, the wreath itself, round, but mostly flat so that it would fit between your main door and your storm door, or screen door, whichever you call it. Also, I was taking a poll the other day as to what people call it. Some people call it a storm door if it's glass, and a screen door, obviously, if it has screen. But if I remember right, I think my grandparents would have storm doors, but it would swap out and it'd have a screen in it. So you could make it glass, you could make it screen. I don't know. So I don't know. All right, so we're going to keep going around here. Nice and tight. Overlap here. Overlap here. And you're just going to do your best to make sure you flip everything under, making sure those pipe cleaners from the inside stay visible so you can get to them when you need them. I think this is a good lesson here, actually. We have the mesh is a little, this border mesh is a little different than normal. Oopsie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And so it's going to look a little different. So it's more wavy, kind of. It's going to be just fine. Just trust the process. Okay, so we're just going to ruffle right up here, the center. Nice and tight. Overlap. Now look, a lot of you will ask me, how do you get it to not fray? It's fraying. It is definitely fraying. I guess I should point that out to you. You know, I cut them, I use a nice fresh, sharp rotary cutter. This is actually a brand spanking new mat, so my mat is nice and fresh as well. And when you're cutting on that rotary cutter, you want to make sure that you're actually applying pressure. All those things will help, but it's a woven material. It's woven. I don't know if that's the way you say it, but so it's gonna fray. You guys, my thumb starts to crack, so I'm gonna just tape it a little bit. There we go. And you see it caught there, so I want to still make sure I don't just grab the rest. I'm gonna go all the way up. Now, even though it is fraying, you see once it gets into its spot, you're not noticing that as much, number one, and you still have your ribbon to put on top, your next layer to put on top, and then on top of that you have your sign and your bow. So if you're getting to this point and you're like, it's fraying, what do I do? Stay calm. It's gonna be fine. Sometimes even the best mesh frays. We just got to do our best. If we're going to decide to cut it, and we know it's a woven material, we just have to do our best to conceal it and hide it. Okay? Right down in there. Overlap here. Now I'm overlapping these because I could leave them just the way they are, but the whole point of this specific design is so that the wreath itself will be slim, thin, whatever you want to call it, to fit between the doors. So not that you have to do it this way. You have a whole roll, 360 inches, and you have 12 twist ties. So if you wanted to make the ruffles thicker, you totally can. Right inside here. All along, I still wanted to make sure that those pipe cleaners on the inside were sticking straight up and ready for me for when I need them. Okay? Usually I have Band-Aids to help me, but this time, of course, I don't. Okay, so now we're going to start our ribbon, right? We have two 2.5 inch ribbons, right? We put our favorite on the top. I folded it so I could find the center. I'm going to unfold it and scrunch up that middle, fold it out facing towards me. So I want all of those ribbon tail ends to all be facing out this way, okay? So that none of the ribbon gets covered up on the inside. And then we're going to take it and spread it apart. So we see both of those. Okay, just like that. And then we'll cut off the excess there. We're going to keep going, do that exact same thing on all of these. And then we'll take this whole layer and then we're going to duplicate it on the inside and then make our bow and attach our sign. So just tighten those nice and tight. Spread them apart up and down first. Spread them apart side to side so that we have a nice little pattern going. Okay, so we have polka dot, plaid, polka dot, plaid, polka dot, plaid, polka dot, plaid, the whole way around. Now, I know y'all like to be a little different, and I know you all like to do your own thing, and you know, try out different things. The thing with the pattern is, and the way I do it, the reason why I do it this way, it's really easy on the eye, right? It's really easy on the eye to look at this and not have two things touching each other, and it just looks aesthetically pleasing, okay? When you take the plaids and you put the plaids together and then the polka dots together, it just isn't as, it doesn't flow as easy on your eyes, right? So that's why I always make sure, like I'm teaching my son and my daughter a pattern, make sure we're doing a pattern all the way around and we stick to that pattern. Now, some of you are like, well, what if I did it differently on the inside? Okay, sometimes, you know, you want to just try something else out. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can try it, but then what'll happen is, like the polka dot on the, if you change it out, the polka dot that ends up on this far side is going to be right by here. Okay, so you just want to make sure, pick a pattern and then stick to it on the inside and the outside. And then also, folks are, you know, well, can you use different mesh, you know, on the inside or the outside? Can you alternate mesh? You can, You totally can. Crafting is, you know, whatever you want it to be. It's what you make it. What I have found is, you know, I do use different mesh in a single project. However, I only use different mesh in a single project when, this is just too annoying. I only use single mesh in a different mesh in a single project when it's a big project. So when it's not a pancake style and I'm doing a wreath that's a little bit bigger or higher price tag, then I'm making sure that I have all those different colors and textures in there and make it a little bit different. But for just a pancake wreath where, you know, it's very clear and easy to see anything that changes, anything that is different, I just like for it to be as simple as possible. So just for the training video and just so you can see, we're gonna cut these off. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but we're just so you can see, you know, that what pipe cleaners we're using and all that stuff. So we're gonna cut these off. They kind of end up underneath all of the layers, so you don't actually get to see them in the end. That's our goal, at least. We don't want to see them, and so it doesn't really matter if you cut them off or not. But just for training, we're going to do that for you. Okay, my pipe cleaners are all ready. They're ready for me to put our next layer in. Just make sure they're all up and ready to go, and I can see them all. We're going to start with that one since it's a little crammed in there. And then let me pull all of these apart. I cut a whole bunch at the same time, and so for it to be easy for me to kind of get them going and separate them, I just rolled it. This is also how I do it if I'm going to teach a class, so that my students can get everything right in their box and it's easy for them. I just roll it all together. Alright, so we're going to do the same exact thing. Y'all, if you are making these and selling them, or some of you are making them and giving them away, which I think is so nice, but just know that this is something that I actually do for a living. I do this for a whole living. I started off, you know, not where I am now, obviously. Started off with a Facebook page and selling on Facebook Marketplace and just kind of learning a little bit as I went. Invested in a business coach and some business training to learn a little bit more because I had no idea what I was doing. But if you are making these, just know that you know, somewhere along the line you have a talent of something. Maybe it is wreath making, maybe you have different talents and something different. You know, I never thought in a million years I could make a living being crafty. And yet here I definitely am doing exactly what I not only told myself but have said out loud. You know, I never thought this could happen. So here I am doing exactly what I thought could never happen because I didn't know any better. That's my pep talk for today. I kind of get in tangents sometimes, and it's a little weird when you're not actually live and listening. You're just talking to yourself. But that's my advice. If you have a talent, God gave you a talent of something, then harness it, learn about it. He gave you a talent for a reason, right? Okay, so we're going on right up again. Scrunch, crunch, 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 all the way up. I like this mesh because it's a little different. It is border, but the border is like a matte. It's not shiny foil. It's like a fabric. So it's a little different. It's cool. It's cool looking. I brought the glitter in with the, or the shiny, I should say, because it's not glitter, but with the, I mean, this, it is glitter. With the ribbon, I brought the mesh. Oh. Let me catch my thoughts for a second. I brought the shiny stuff in with the glitter on the ribbon. There we go. I just love this ribbon, this specific ribbon with this specific border mesh. It looks really cool. The white and the border mesh is picked up by the polka dots in the white polka dots in the ribbon. It looks so good. But as you're noticing here, I am definitely putting this mesh over that layer of ribbons, and you're probably like, why is she doing that? You'll see. It looks so good in the end. And I really do try not to play with all those ribbons until the very end so that they don't get yucky. I'm just going right on top, putting it right over that layer, not moving anything else out of the way, just grabbing those pipe cleaners. Nice and tight. Okay, last one. Right on top. So sorry, I'm just going to keep talking. My business and creative style has definitely evolved from the very beginning. Right? Everything kind of starts to take shape a little bit better. It starts to look a little bit better. You know, you get in a rhythm with yourself and with your business where everything starts to flow a little easier, all that stuff. So through the years, I've enjoyed learning more about my own craft and my own skill. So we're going to take this next layer and put it right on the top again. Right down there. I want to make sure I kind of squish those nice and tight. Twist that ribbon. Everything's going to be so pretty and perfect at the end. I try not to mess with it as I go along, just because I know, like, I'm going to be putting the bow in, I'm going to be touching things and moving things around, so I try not to touch them too many times. You don't need to do that. Just make sure they're all perfect at the end when you're taking your picture. And I usually do that kind of perfecting before I take it off the table. So I'm not, you know, trying to do it, I don't know if it's awkwardly. You might design on an easel, and that's fine. I design on a table. So if I'm trying to fix things when it's hanging on the door, it's a little weird for me. So I try to make sure I have everything just the way it needs to be before I pick it up. I guess if you ever have any questions, I know you're watching this as a recording, but if you have any questions, you know, when you see me live, catch me live, please, you know, just make sure you definitely ask. I can help guide you or answer some questions that you have. If I know a for sure solid, experienced answer, I'll for sure answer you. Super pretty, super easy, nice and full. Just tightening that 6 or 7 times. So the reason why I tighten that 6 or 7 times, 7 or 8 times, 6 to 8 times, I guess, it's just when I cut them off, when I cut that pipe cleaner, I just want that twist to be long enough that if I cut it a little short, it's not going to untwist, right? There's enough there for it to be secure if I, you know, cut it off too quick or too easy or too whatever. So that's why I twist that so many times. That's 6 to 8 times. I try to do it so that there's about an inch there. And then of course I'm going to cut those off, just again so we can see a little more clear what's going on. Now I started my business in 2017, officially 2017. I really did try to start it in 2015, and I made wreaths before I knew that it was an actual thing. I made, you know, I did my own thing. I was using, some of you may have already heard this story, but I was using non-wired ribbon. Oh, adorable! Okay, we're gonna add a bow first. I was using non-wired ribbon and gluing it to the mesh to get it to stay in place. Like, I don't know what kind of, I mean, that was just me figuring out what to do, what not to do, what I could do, what I can't do. I don't know. I had no idea. All right, so we're gonna make this bow. It is going to go right down here at the bottom. So we're gonna place it right there. We're gonna put our things there to attach the sign. But I like to have my bow kind of going first so I know how big, how little, how all that stuff. So let me just zoom us in a little bit more here so you can really see. And okay, we're going to start with our 2.5 inch ribbon, and I'm going to make this about 7 inches, and we're going to make our first layer about 6 inches. So our first loop is going to be about 6 inches, and then I'm going to pinch that there loop, okay, hold it nice and tight. I'm going to pull those apart and twist that ribbon, always so that I can see that pretty side on the top, and I'm going to make sure this side about matches this other side. And I'm going to do the same thing, pinch, okay, and I'm going to twist that ribbon so that it goes back to the pretty side facing me. So I always want the pretty side facing me. So we start with a 7-inch tail and a 6-inch loop, okay, 7-inch tail, 6-inch loop. I'm going to make sure that this over here is cut and about the same length. There we go. So this bow has 2 loops, 2 tails, and 1 loop. So when I put on the next layer, it's going to be switched. I'm going to do opposite, okay? So my trying to see what colors I like. Ooh, I like the green on the top. All right, I'm going to do the polka dot next. I like the green on the top. Okay. So our next ribbon, I do our little dovetail. Okay. I'm going to do our 7 inches. Actually, this one I'm going to go like 6.5 inches. 6.5 inches on my next loop, or my next tail. So 6.5 and then 5.5. I'm just going to make sure that that's a little bit smaller than the last one. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Pinch, pull them apart, twist, loop, making sure eyeball that those two look the same, and then pinch, twist, and then my last loop, and then again a pinch, and then my last twist. Okay, so now I have these two. I want the 2 loops to go opposite, so I'm going to put that opposite on this side. Okay, so now we have these 2 over here, our tail. I'm going to cut off just like that. Okay, that wasn't a very good cut, but it's fine. And then our last layer is going to go same thing, or well, kind of a little bit different. Our last layer is going to have a tiny loop on the top. It's going to help us hide our zip tie. Now, I use zip ties just for me personally. This didn't come in the kit. But I use zip ties for me personally because my hands are a little bit not so lovely. And to add the zip pipe cleaner to the bow, my hands are like not tightening it is enough. So I just use this little tool, a zip tie and a tool, rather than just the pipe cleaner. All right, so this is going to be, remember the first one was 7 inches. The next one was 6.5 inches. This is going to be about just under 6 inches. Let's go there, just under 6 inches. Well, let's go about 6. And then one little loop. It's about 2 inches, about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to take this next one. It's going to be little tiny, and I'm going to pinch. Now I still need, aside from that one little tiny loop, I still need 3 loops. So twist, and then a loop, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop. Now again, you do have from the kit, you have just enough to make this exact bow. So make sure you're following the measurement recipe. So we have our 2 loops here, and here are our 2 loops, so we want these to go on the other side. Okay, and it really just matters, it really just, oops, that one didn't twist. It really just matters what that bottom layer was. Everything needs to be smaller than the bottom layer, okay? So if you can get that bottom layer at 7-inch tail, 6-inch loops, you're going to be good, okay? So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut this. We have our zip tie and our little tool here. Okay, so I'm going to just take this right off, nice and tight, hold on to it. Now, I have super bad carpal tunnel, so I like to use that tool there, the Easy Bow Maker, just because I can't keep everything in my hands because they will start screaming at me. So if you are talented enough to keep everything in your hands while you make the next layer, more power to you. Totally love it. My hands are getting old. So I just take a zip tie, add it to it, and you want the teeth to this piece, the teeth to this tool to line up with the teeth on your zip tie. Not the smooth part, right? Okay? So then all you're going to do from here is add your pipe cleaner to the top. So you still need a spot, something to attach it with. So I'm going to add my pipe cleaner. And then I'm going to hold on to that loop in the center. I'm going to start with my bottom layer. Kind of pull those all out. All separate. Where's my other loop? 1, 2, 3. Oh, here it is. There we go. Okay, I'm going to make sure when I put that bow in that the tails are facing down towards the bottom of that. Bottom of the wreath, it's my longest part of the wreath. Okay, so we're going to put that up a little bit, just like that, and we'll put this right there, just like that. Darling. I know you can't see that. Just zoom it back out. Just super cute. Okay, we're going to take our thing here and our staple gun. All the links to this are in the description below. So if you're looking for the staple gun, if you're looking for the zip tie gun, they're all there. Okay. Now, my staples are 1/4 inch. My sign is not quite 1/4 inch. Okay. My sign is not quite 1/4 inch. So if I want to add this if I want to add staples, I have to add some padding, okay? So I added these little, they're just the back of a spool, a ribbon spool, and I've been cutting pieces of it forever. Okay, so I just keep the spool ends and add the pieces, or add them kind of like to build up the depth of the sign. So that when I put my pipe cleaner down and then put my staple in, it doesn't go through to the other side. Okay, so I'm just going to nice and tight push, give it a little might, just give it a little might, just give it a little push, both sides. Now, personally, when I'm home not doing a kit, I started using wire just because it's a little easier to put these through the mesh. So then you can put these right through the mesh, and then you can attach your sign. Okay? All right, now let's move some tools out of the way so we can finish up this job here and get y'all moving. All right, so we're going to place our sign. I'm going to try to make sure I'm watching those pipe cleaners, okay? I'm going to place our sign so I can bring that up just a little bit. So I have a little tiny area right here. I'm going to bring that bow a little bit further down than I normally would, just so that it doesn't cover up the whole entire sign. So that's where I want my sign to go. Okay, so now I'm just going to take these pipe cleaners and put it right through all that mesh. This is the hardest part, okay? This is the hardest part. I say that every time I'm live. Getting these pipe cleaners through all those layers of mesh is the hardest part. So I'm just getting my fingers underneath there. This worked out really nicely. Maybe the other side won't cooperate as much, but that worked out nice. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the other side. So I just kind of tacked those in. I didn't really secure it, and then we will do that together. I'll flip it over so that we can do that together. But I like to get both sides in before I really kind of secure it. That way I won't be pulling things out when I'm trying to secure the other side. That went a lot quicker than I had anticipated. Okay. So I'm going to make sure it's where it needs to be. Make sure it's up a little bit, like we said, giving that room down there. And then I'm just going to flip it over. Okay. Keeping it right where I need it to be. I'm going to bring that over and through. Tie that together. And stuff it underneath there. Okay. And then do the other side. Make sure again that it didn't shift. See, this one shift a little bit. Okay. There we go. And then while we are under here, let's go ahead and, so now it's not going to fall off, you see, it's not going to fall off. But while we're under here, let's go ahead and add a pipe cleaner. So your kit comes with 15 pipe cleaners, just because you don't have to add this. It isn't something you have to do. But what I'm going to do is make sure that this, where my top is, where my center is, okay, and I'm going to make sure that this is where the top is. Where this is my center, this is my top. So I'm going to add this. Now, what you could do for sure, if you don't want to add a hanger, which is what I almost always do, I just, tell them you just hang it on the frame. You're just going to put your thing up underneath there and you'll hang it on the frame. I've just started recently doing this, but I don't do it all the time. So we're going to just take it and we're going to add it underneath here. Okay. I'm going to twist it and tie it. I'm going to make it, secure so it's a whole loop, right? So I have a whole loop. And then that gets like picky. So I'm going to make sure I kind of put that under here, right? So it goes underneath there. So this is all nice and smooth. And then make sure it's nice and tight and twist it so it doesn't come apart. And now they just have a nice little, little hoop to hang it from. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to do is attach our bow. So I am so glad that you have watched this whole video. Maybe you skipped through some pieces. That's fine. There we go. That was off a little bit. There we go. I guess I couldn't really see. Wasn't looking at it dead on. Okay, so we're going to take those long pieces, remember the longest part of my bow, and put it on the outside. Okay, so it's the longest part. The longest part isn't going up over my sign. Okay, so I'm going to just take my pipe cleaners here, do the exact same thing I did to the sign. I'm going to do the exact same thing and just work my way through all this mesh under here. Now, I keep forgetting that this is border mesh. So the center of that mesh is, you know, mostly clear. So it's easier to get through because there's less material there less material. There's just less material, period. There we go. That looks perfection. Okay, now I'm not going to flip it over just so we don't have to, you know, squash the bow. But I'm doing the exact same thing underneath there. And then I'm just going to tuck it and hide it. Okay? Perfection. The last thing I do is, not the last thing, but make sure my bow is fluffed nicely. Okay. Make sure the bow is fluffed nicely. I cut that one a little bit short. I should probably, because it's going to look a little weird. It's going to, I don't know if you can see it, notice it, but it's going to drive me crazy. So I'm going to cut that one a little bit shorter. There we go. And then, remember I said the last thing I do is go through and make sure all of our ribbon is facing out towards the edge. Now you see, and I'll put it up on end just so that you can really see, but now you see why the layers worked so nicely. You know, you're coming in with that second layer of mesh and ribbon, and it really just kind of gives, I don't know, it just does something. It's just really nice on the design. Just want to make sure that you can see all of them, and they're all sticking straight out. Nothing is tucked under there trying to hide. If you're hiding, right now is at the time I'm going to find you. Okay. Right now is when I'm going to find you. There we go, just like that. Perfection. Absolutely perfect, adorable, darling. Love, love how this turned out. Super fun. Now notice there isn't any like Christmas ribbon. This red and green ribbon could have totally been used for watermelons. I don't know what else off the top of my head, but red and green doesn't necessarily have to be for Christmas. But it also, with a little bit of glitter, it just totally worked super well. It's super cute. I hope you're subscribed. If you haven't yet, if you've gotten this far and you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do so that you don't miss any videos in the future. If you're not on our email list friends get our very first dibs on our wreath kits. So this is a wreath kit, and if you are on our list, then just know you get a couple of hours head start before I post it, if there's anything left, before I post it on our social medias. So if you haven't joined our email list yet, it is in the description of this video. It's simply don'tmissemails.com. No apostrophe in the don't, because it's a website. So don'tmissemails.com. Super easy. Check out this from the side vision. Absolutely perfect. So wide and wonderful looking from the top, from the face of it. but then also turn it on its side and it's super duper thin. Great to fit between your main door, storm door combinations if you have one of those. If you don't have one of those, it's still going to be great, perfect on the outside of your door as well. Again, it is Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. I am a creative coach inside the Creative Coaching Group, and we do lots of teaching there creatively. I also, Sincerely Creative Mom, also offers a pricing class, a class on how to be a boutique vendor, a class on how to host your own classes. We have garland classes available, Christmas tree classes available. We have so many things available. If you're looking for future and further trainings, don't hesitate to reach out. My phone number is 810-498-2310. I am happy to respond back to you as best as I can. For now, I hope you're subscribed, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.